Hi there, audience. My name is Maya Sykins, and today I'm going to be talking to you about why every American 18 years and older should participate in their civic duty and vote in all of their elections. It is a right for all American citizens 18 and older to vote, but this has not always been a standard in American history. It has taken a lot of work for us to get to this place. Through history, many different social and racial groups like African Americans, immigrants, women, and even people of a lower social class had to fight for years to gain their rights to vote. I want all of you to know that voting is a simple task that is only asked of you once a year and can make a big impact on daily lives. First, I'm going to explain to you why all eligible voters should vote. Then, I will explain to you how easy it is for you to get out there and vote. And finally, I will show you how your vote can impact the results of an election and your everyday life. I've grown up in a family that has instilled a passion for politics in me, and through many conversations with former White House staffer Warren Sykins, my grandfather, I have determined that it is an important topic to educate people on the importance of voting. Now, let's begin by talking about the problem that comes from a lack of voter participation in American elections. Since 2000, the average percentage of voter participation has only been around 59% of eligible voters in America, according to our White House's 2020 article, Who Gets to Vote by Jerry Edens. Even though different social groups in America fought for years to gain the right to vote, which they did take advantage of when they originally got this right. For example, African Americans in 1870 and women in 1920. The turnout for voting participation has decreased immensely since 1960, as shown in the graph. Even now, different racial groups are disproportionately represented in the polls, with 37% of whites being regular voters, while only 24% of Hispanics are regular voters, according to Pew Research Center's 2006 report, Who Votes, Who Doesn't, and Why. And this graph to my left shows the imbalance among race and voter turnout in the past 40 years of elections. Sadly, there is a large lack of voter participation because many people just don't think it's important. According to Asma Khalid's 2018 NPR article, On the Sidelines of Democracy, exploring why so many Americans don't vote, a woman reported that she has never voted because she feels like her voice doesn't matter and it won't make a difference. This is the idea that is way too popular in the United States and that we need to work on changing so they can make a difference. Now that we have identified the problem that comes from a lack of voter participation, let's look at some ways we could solve this. Over the past few years, the government has found ways to make voting easier through more access to voting methods and voter education. Voter education has grown immensely over the past 40 years through developments in technology and the American education system. Starting young in elementary school and middle school, children are educated on the American political system through their U.S. history classes. And once kids get to high school, they take more rigorous U.S. history classes learning about American politics and are even offered U.S. politics classes where they learn even more in depth about the American voting system. People also are able to gain way more access to information on their candidates through things like televised debates or websites and even pamphlets, so they can learn everything they need to know about their candidates so they can determine who they want to vote for. Access to voting has expanded greatly in the 21st century, only making it easier for you to cast your vote. Many states offer early voting, sometimes even weeks before the election, which allows you to fit it into your schedule easily once a year. And another form of easy access to voting is the mail-in ballot, shown here, which has become way more popular in the past two pandemic elections. And the mail-in ballot allows you to vote at home and mail your ballot in to be counted. Now that we know many easy ways to learn about voting and how to vote, let's look at the positive impact that could be made if everyone did vote. If every eligible voter went out there and voted in their yearly elections, the opinions of all adult Americans would be equally represented in political decisions that impact everyday lives. Your single vote can make a big impact in those close call races we inevitably hear about every year. For example, the 2000 Bush versus Al Gore election, which Bush won by a measly 537 votes in Florida, according to National Geographic's Why Voting is Important 2020 article. By voting, you are making sure that your voice is being heard, whether it's on a federal, state, or local level. Your vote is making sure big decisions in your area are not being left up to a potentially small pool of voters. Your vote can make impacts on taxation or even the minimum wage, which can greatly affect the economy. And voting in state elections can make a great impact on your state's transportation systems or even education, which can determine what your children are taught every day in school. And voting in your local level elections can change your everyday ride to work through decisions for transportation and road safety. For example, building that bridge that you want across the town, or adding more sidewalks to make your town more walkable. Now, let's summarize what we've learned about the importance of voting. In conclusion, you know the impact of your vote can make a big decision on federal, state, and local levels, along with the many ways that you could change everyday lives. Sadly, only 59% of eligible voters in America have been participating in elections in the past 20 years, and we need to work on greatly increasing this number. Every American that is eligible to vote in November of 2022 needs to get out there and participate in the election and have their voice heard. Remember, your voice is important, and the only way you could get it out there on a big scale is to go out there and vote. Now that we are all planning on voting in our 2022 election, let's go out there and Google our state's voting rules. So if we do have early voting, we could go and put that on our schedule ahead of time so we know that we can get out there and vote and have the time to do it. Go out there and research your candidates for state, federal, and local elections so you could be educated on who you have to vote for and you could determine who you want to vote for. And get out there and vote. Go to your polls and vote. Thank you.